I've been actually listening to all the talks since morning, but hardly any talks actually talks about cybersecurity, because pharma here, we've been into the pharma industry for last almost 2 decades, and we already have seen so many cyber attacks on pharma companies. Other couple of are really so bad that have really crippled the organization. So this is what I am actually talking about more on the cybersecurity. What pharma companies needs to do, what are the exactly requirements they need to take, what are the gray spots, we actually call it in the cybersecurity, what are the gray spots, because whenever you hear about the cybersecurity, there are so many vendors in the market, they actually talk about so many different products, so many different vectors from where the cyber attack is actually received. However, we being especially into the advanced cybersecurity, we have actually analyzed certain threats and how those threats are actually infiltrating into your organization. Even though you have entire security, those are actually infiltrating your organizations. You are need to do something else. So here specifically, actually, I'm talking about DNS security. Probably it would be too technical, but I'll try not to make too technical and probably try to explain the topic. What exactly needs to be done from the cyber security perspective? So let me set up my context. This is our brief agenda. So who am I? I'm a veteran cybersecurity player. We actually been working into the cybersecurity for last almost more than 24 years. I have done specialization and a doctorate in the DNS security. That is how our actually product base. So we have actually developed one of a unique plugin into the DNS security that I'm actually going to talk about. So this is about my organizations. If it is, since it's a cyber security, probably I'll try to explain about what are the topics that we covered. We are focused into the threat intelligence. We are actually help organization to identify the or uncover the exact attacks on your organization, or how the organization is actually being looked by the attackers. So this is our the protection suite that is actually offering. So DNS MTrap is our flagship product. TrapLogs is again kind of a deception engine and it's an automation engine. Then we have WAF, as in Web Application Firewall, which is protecting the organization's web applications. Then DMARC 365, and then the threat intelligence. So threat intelligence is the main topic, I would say, which is actually preventing the organizations from getting targeted. So this is a quite new one. So this is how the organizations are actually being breached, and specifically the pharmaceuticals. So if you can see, the pharmaceuticals are now majorly being targeted by pharmaceutical organizations. Those are being targeted. I wouldn't say because of lack of awareness, but maybe because of lack of implementation. I would say, I'm happy to see that certain organizations, CISOs, are really aware of that cybersecurity, but honestly, certain points probably they were not able to implement. Ransomware. Probably you might have heard this term ransomware quite a lot, because there are big pharma names which is already been victimized before. Couple of them were, they had to close their operations for a couple of weeks, which kept them out of, production for a few days. So we being into the threat intelligence, what we do is that we are tracking globally what is exactly the trend. Even if you see in 2023, in the last month, almost around 2,900 and almost near to the 3,000 organizations have actually failed to the ransomware attack. 30% of these are from the pharma companies. So that is over the overall year, not only September, but 30% of the companies are pharma companies globally. So what is exactly, let's come back to the topic. What is exactly the DNS security? Why do we need DNS security? So these are the attacks what you see in front of you. Those are the big attacks, big names involved. Attackers are targeting the organizations, and it has got, all those attacks has got one thing in common, which is a DNS is involved into that. There is a massive growth of DNS attacks. So if you see the trend here, it's continuously the trend is increasing and attackers are identifying more and more flaws. However, why I'm actually sharing this slide is because especially pharma companies are still focusing on the legacy protections. They are not at all focusing on the advanced cyber security player. How the attackers are actually targeting those how those attackers are actually targeting their organizations externally. So why do we need a protection through DNS? Because I've been actually talking about the DNS quite a few times. What is exactly the DNS? So recent survey which is actually been carried out states that 90% of the pharma companies are still not tracking or maybe looking at the DNS traffic which is actually going out, and unfortunately the encryption is becoming norm. Now what is exactly the encryption? Because whenever we talk to any of the pharma companies or the customers, what they see is that they always come back to us. Okay, we already have secured our web servers, we already have secured our the incoming traffic. However, the one thing I would like to clear is that if you think you already have secured, don't you think the attacker have already thought about that? This is what the always trend is, that okay, we always think from the defender perspective. मैंने ये डाला है, मैंने वो डाला है, मैंने ये secure किया. I have already spent so many so much budget on the security. However, try to think from the attacker perspective. Attacker have already thought about that. Attacker is always one step ahead. Attacker is always looking for one weak point in your organization, and the weak point what we have identified basis on the research is the DNS technique. Because I would say more than 90% of the organizations are not even tracking the DNS queries which are actually going out. They do not have a DNS protections which is actually going out. And yes, this is what, as I said, I mean, since we are actually doing a lot of research, we have already identified and we are actually encrypting the DNS traffic. So what we do? So we have mitigated the technique using called DNS over HTTPS. So even the similar like your web servers are actually being accessed over the internet, we are actually encrypting the DNS traffic using DNS over HTTPS or DNS over TLS. So the queries or the traffic which is even actually going out will be encrypted or is encrypted. This is one of the slide. There are almost around 1,40,000 cybersecurity companies exist worldwide. Probably you might have already deployed a security solutions from them. However, the irony is only 15% of them are dedicated to the cyber DNS based security. Now, this is what the lack of awareness, and I would say good for attackers. There are no security protection for the DNS. That is what the DNS is a very vital for the organization, or your organization is actually exists because of the DNS. The Lupin Pharma, the Sun Pharma, the name itself is actually resolved to something else. That name is there, that means the company is using the DNS. It's not like that probably I'll stop using the DNS, my company doesn't even exist. So thing here is that if I'm actually using a DNS, definitely it will be targeted. It will be targeted somehow. Unfortunately, that is not being again monitored. So what is exactly DNS AMTrap? Because so DNS AMTrap is it's a kind of a, you can say in layman's term, probably if I can translate it's a kind of a firewall which specifically monitors the DNS queries. Because as I said, because if I'm protecting my house, I already have secured doors, windows, everywhere. But this is what again I thought from the attacker defender's perspective. If I actually start thinking from the attacker's perspective, I need to see what probably point attacker would infiltrate. What are the measures probably I need to take? So DNS AMTrap is nothing but a kind of a firewall. So it has got a deception technology inbuilt. A quick talk about the deception engine. The deception engine is nothing but probably we are actually just fooling the adversaries which are actually targeting your organization, rather than actually diverting them to, rather than targeting them to the actual targets. We are actually diverting them to a kind of a fake target and then assess their modus operandi or assess their behavior, create the signature basis on that, and immediately block the traffic even before they actually infiltrate in the organization. So here, so below ones are the couple of technical thoughts. Let's move ahead. So here are the couple of attacks we are actually protecting with the DNS. So last two ones are pretty much important. So hardly any vendors probably talks about that. So rest of the left hand side probably everybody is actually providing a protection against those kind of protection or threats. However, the right side, the DNS tunneling and the data exfiltration, I would say it's very very difficult to detect. There are, you need a dedicated monitoring kind of a technique, then only you will be able to identify. Otherwise, I have deployed antivirus, I have deployed next generation firewall, I have deployed blah blah blah, I have deployed this, and I'm protected. I'm pretty sure probably you can go back to your security operations center or whoever is actually monitoring your traffic and probably raise a query. Show me the last 10 1 month trend from the DNS tunneling. If you have found the DNS kind of a tunneling from your the SOC team or your whoever is actually monitoring the data, I'm pretty sure they won't, because they are not monitoring that DNS technique. And if they are not monitoring, definitely you are actually posed to that threat. Definitely the data might be exfiltrated or data might actually be going out from your organization. So in cybersecurity, we actually call it as a security maturity model or cyber security model. So what we do, I mean, probably this might apply to everyone. So as a so if you are a CISO or if you are a CIO, probably you are deploying. There are couple of stages at this. So most of the organizations they are actually doing firewall, IPS, endpoint security, patch management, blah blah blah, and they actually make that pyramid stable. However, DNS, try to understand, DNS is at the very basic level. So DNS protection is very much needed. So moving next to my next product, which is automated response. That is one of the hot topic, I would say. Again, since in cybersecurity, probably again automation is one of the main topic I can see probably is not being implemented. What I mean by not implemented, that means someone probably just have pointed, because pharma companies are still working from the legacy perspective. What is exactly legacy perspective from pertaining to the cyber security? If any kind of a threat which is actually been observed, what is exactly the topology which is being followed? So probably your security operation team or your IT team has actually notified. Then somebody actually takes a assess that attack and then probably take action on that. Why not we automate that entire life cycle? So there are certain softwares or there are certain applications, there are certain playbooks which are readily available, by which as soon as the attack is actually detected, probably that will be mitigated, that will be nullified immediately without even following that maturity cycle. However, yes, from the compliance perspective, definitely there is a human intervention needed. However, we can actually minimize the human intervention pretty much low. I mean, we do not need to probably wait for approval, wait for holiday, wait for the CISO is not available. So automation is one of the technique. What we do here in iSecureNet is, this is what the problem, again, as I briefly told you, because security operations are already, they are overwhelmed. They are taking TDS and monotonous tasks. Probably that can be automated. So iSecureNet AR is nothing but a kind of a SOAR. So probably if you are, so anyone has not heard about the SOAR. So SOAR in cybersecurity is talk about security orchestration and automated response. That means all the security or all the teams, they orchestrate for among themselves and they actually take a response on the fly. So in this sense, so that is the day-to-day pain area of cybersecurity teams. So SOC team is actually notifying you this kind of alert. Then probably your IT admin or IT manager or firewall admin, whoever goes onto the firewall, creates the access list, block the hashes on whatever the perimeter level security. That actually takes time. That can definitely be reduced. That's how we can actually reduce the attack surface. So we can actually minimize the attack IOC matching, and we can actually react on that immediately. So this is what the actually life cycle. Automated response is a completely automated attack. It's actually blocking automatically. These are the couple of use cases with the SOAR, and again, I'm happy to share that I have my prestigious client among yourself. Alchem Laboratory is already using our automation and our DNS based technique. Probably you can have a ready reference with them. Or probably you can actually visit us on our booth if you would like to discuss more onto this automation, or what are exactly we doing into the cyber security, especially into the advanced cyber security. That's how we actually phrase it. So these are the these are the couple of use cases what we actually do with the SOAR, or automated response, I would say. Uh, that's it. So my name is Manish. My contact details are actually given here, or probably I'm actually available on my booth if you'd like to discuss more on the cyber security. Thank you.